The thing is that what the Western countries, including the UK, is doing right now is not helping multiculturalism, even if it's not multiculturalism. I think it's implementing multi-extremism in this country.
She can ask any question we want. You don't get to tell her what she asks. Nobody gets to tell her what she asks.
She's a free... that she's actually against Muslim women.
She did not say she's against Muslim women.
I think there's a big picture here. What is the UK government and the UK as a whole nation is dealing with is the terrorism as the primary threat to the national security. And what is important here is that if what Sarah Pochin is recommending is part of a big plan to tackle extremism and terrorism in this country, I think this is a good move to do. But if we are missing the big picture here, for example...
On a debate in GB News about whether burqa should be banned in Britain, as other European countries like Switzerland, Austria and Poland have done, which was originally brought forth by a Reforms MP in Parliament and now been debated in GB News by an Iranian Muslim who was for and a Palestinian Muslim who was against. This Iranian Muslim said, "We are fostering multi-extremism in Britain if burqas are and face coverings are not banned." She argued that the UK as a whole is suffering from terrorism, and if terrorists are not identified and deported, it means we are fostering multi-extremism in Britain. On the other hand, the other person was against her, but I will let you watch the interview here and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. But before we get there, if you've not already, subscribe to our channel for upcoming updates.
Banning women to covering their face, and it was kind of similar there as to burqa. So because Reza Shah the Great was taking the holistic approach to tackling extremism and Islamic terrorism in the country, it worked, and we saw the development of the country in the coming years. But what happened in the 97 in the country changed the whole story. It was the Islamic Marxist revolution that took place in my country. And as a result, we are facing the similar issue, the issue that refusing to taking off your hijab can get you killed.
Okay. Fahima Mahmood, you've been waiting very patiently to have your say. Presumably you are dead against the notion of any form of burqa ban on British soil. Why is that?
Well, firstly, what's just been said is completely contradiction, because firstly, it was said in Iran that women are terrorized. Okay, and here it's been said that for wearing the burqa, they are the terrorists. So which one is it? And secondly, when it comes to Sarah, talking as a female MP for the first time, where she could have really raised issues with regards to domestic violence that is really on the rise right now, when it comes to, mental health in the women's prisons and so many other issues, she picks on the European far-right nationalists and wants to copy them in British, not secular government.
Hang on. Are you saying that the electoral processes of France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, Bulgaria, Germany, Italy, Latvia, Norway, you're all calling them far-right extremist nations?
No, the ones that have gone for the ban, I've got the actual results here. All of them that called for the burqa were non-seculars. I mean, they were they were extremists. They were from the far right, like Geert Wilder, whatever his name is. And they were the ones that actually were calling for this. So it was those parties that Reform tries to say that they're not racist, they're not nationalist, but they're following suit. And that is completely against British law. If the bishops, can sit in the House of Lords, why can't a woman wearing a niqab just go down to Sainsbury's and do her shopping? They're not the threat. They are not the ones that are causing terrorism, as some people like to misrepresent. If it's happening in another country, it is not the British law here. We are not secularism here, a sense that we have certain rules for freedom of expression and freedom of religion.
I hear you. We also have a democracy where, to be frank, Sarah Pochin can ask whatever she wants.
Yeah, she said she's a magistrate.
She can ask any question we want. You don't get to tell her what she asks. Nobody gets to tell her what she asks.
She's a free... What is saying that she's actually against Muslim women?
She did not say she's against Muslim women.
By picking on a particular group. And at the end of the day, she says she's a magistrate who would not in court actually represent or speak to someone who's wearing a burqa. Do you know that she could be actually called in breach of judicial impartiality and equality laws for even saying that? Does she not know the laws?
Fahima, you're big on saying we shouldn't tell women what to wear. You're telling
my
Sarah,
body, my choice. Isn't that what we've been
You're
fighting
telling
for?
Sarah Poetry what she's allowed to think,
No,
what she's allowed to ask as a question.
She should be better of empowering women instead of breaking them down for unreasonable security issues. We have no gaps in the law when it comes to removing the hijab, removing the niqab, and having that, whether it's courts, whatever. So what she's talking about is actual racism, discrimination, and against a particular group.
The thing is that what the Western countries, including the UK, is doing right now is not helping multiculturalism, even if it's not multiculturalism. I think it's implementing multi-extremism in this country. You should give the opportunity for moderate Muslims to speak up against the horrible experiences that they had in their own countries. And if they are even in the British soil, I think they don't have the opportunity to speak up for what is real and what they believe in. And all of the conversation, all of the debate is putting us into the point that only extremism have the voice among Muslims to speak up in this country. This is a big issue.
And Fahima, isn't that the point? You know, we live in a democracy where we're allowed to have uncomfortable conversations. In fact, we probably should have more of them.
I have the most uncomfortable conversations, and I've broken barriers in my own community.
Yeah.
It's not about that. The fact that you're trying to bring what is in another country over here, they have their issues over there, and they have got their things over there. If someone wants to say, you know what, ban the hijab or must wear it, for me, that's all oppression.
No,
both sides.
The point isn't to try and bring foreign laws to Britain. It's simply stating the fact democratic nations, which Sir Keir Starmer regards as bastions of liberal progressivism, places like Norway, Switzerland, France, you know, these aren't far-right outliers. They're countries that have taken
there was a loophole in the law
they've
for
taken
them
a
to
democratic perspective that it's safest and best for their country to follow this route.
It only was a
That's
loophole.
not far-right.
No, that was a loophole for their secularism. That's what it was. And this country does not have that because we are democratic with all faiths that have the actual, freedom of expression and religion. So if that's the case, follow them, not just cherry pick what they're doing about burning the burqa, because they want to also, and they also have, taken away the Christian symbols, they've taken away the Jewish kippah. Shall we do that as well? Oh no, shall it just be the Muslims? Just be consistent then.
I don't think it's about removing, there's no conversation about removing all traces of people's religious identity. It was about taking away the face covering specifically. And by the way, it also mentioned things like face masks and balaclavas. That's the point.
Most GPs are still wearing them for whatever health reasons, okay?
That's in a surgical environment where it's a necessity. It's not the same thing.
And if you go anywhere else, if you go to the airports, if they ask you to remove the hijab, it is absolutely okay. Like I said.
Now that you've watched, what are your own thoughts on this? Should burqas and face coverings be banned in the UK as other European counterparts have done in their own country? Share with us in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for upcoming updates.